In the mid-90s, the feud between Bret Hart and his brother Owen was regarded as one of the biggest in North America. The young and talented Owen living in the shadow of his more successful older brother, tensions begin to brew at Survivor Series 1993. Owen turns full heel on Bret at the Royal Rumble. Owen defeats Bret to open WrestleMania 10, even though Bret wins the title to close the show. Owen wins the King of the Ring tournament, culminating in their 5-star cage match at SummerSlam for the WWF title. But then, the feud sort of slowed down dramatically. And I know cage matches are supposed to be feud enders, but in this case, it seems like the feud was still there. 1. The brothers were now 1-on-1 against each other. 2. Owen getting his foot caught in the holes of the cage gives him something to gripe about. And 3. Owen had the distinction of never being pinned or made to submit by Bret, which he could have held over him. But yeah, it seemed to go off the rails after SummerSlam. Bob Backlund was brought in to face Bret for the title at Survivor Series 94, with Owen convincing his mother to throw in the towel on Bret's behalf. Owen costs Bret the title at the Royal Rumble. Bret attacks Owen as he's entering the Rumble, meaning he's eliminated quickly, and then sometime in February, the feud just ends. Bret faces Backlund at WrestleMania 11, and Owen teams with Yokozuna and becomes a tag wrestler for the next 2.5 years or so, also winning the Intercontinental title, the European title, joining the Nation, and tagging with Jeff Jarrett before sadly dying in May 1999. Regarded as one of the best athletes in the company, and even more so than Bret by some people, Owen is high on the list of people who should have won the WWF title, and yet that cage match at SummerSlam would be his only WWF title match on pay-per-view. His rise coincided with the Diesel experiment, which was followed by the age of Shawn Michaels, which effectively ended Owen's chances of winning the title once the Clique had both Vince's ears for good. But what if these things weren't a factor? What if Owen was trusted to lead the company as its champion? And how would business have been affected in 1995, seen by many as one of the worst years in recent wrestling history? Welcome to WWiF. So, everything with Bret and Owen up until the cage match was great. The only thing I would change is, in one of the biggest events of the year, put the WWF Championship on last. Undertaker versus Undertaker? Really? So yeah, put the cage match on last, which will amplify its importance. Owen's first pay-per-view main event, the biggest stage for him since their match at WrestleMania 10, which makes his defeat even more heartbreaking, no pun intended, and makes Jim Neidhart's turn on his former tag partner even more shocking. The Hart Foundation were one of the biggest teams of the late 80s, early 90s, but many people, including Bret himself after the fact, have said that Bret was seen as a babysitter for Neidhart. Bret was the master technician, the better wrestler, the future champion. Before, when it was just Owen who had the issue with Bret's stardom, he'd come off as a whiny little brother, but his former partner joining him gives Owen some backup and a bit of legitimacy. And like I said before, Owen can still lay claim to the fact that on TV and pay-per-view, Bret has never pinned him or made him submit. So, rather than Bob Backlund joining the story and going nuts on Bret over the next 3 months, it becomes Owen and Jim playing the numbers game. Bret has other allies in his family like Bulldog, but keeping it all in the family makes more sense. Jim makes claims that he was the workhorse, who did the hard work and took the brunt of the beatings, while Bret used his intricate moveset to wow audiences and position himself as the next big star. Really show that resentment. Then, at Survivor Series 1994, remove Owen and Sion from the 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. 1, because Owen is going to be elsewhere that night. 2, 5-on-5 seems like overkill. And 3, the multi-man count-out finish only serves to keep the likes of Michaels, Diesel and Ramon strong by having no one how to take the pinfall. Click, moving on. So again, make it the main event, not the third match on a 5-match card. Bret faces Owen for the WWF Championship in a submission match, where the cornerman must throw in the towel to end the match. Neidhart is in Owen's corner, Bulldog is in Bret's corner, and Stu and Helen are at ringside. And while the first 2 encounters have been full of smooth moves and agility, as there is no DQ in this match, things start to get a bit more brutal. Not too much, as that will come later, but given the fact that these 2 brothers are facing off for a 3rd time, it's 1 win apiece, the title is on the line, and their parents are watching it before their eyes, makes every punch and dirty trick feel more real. Rakes at the eyes, head into the turnbuckle, Bret's figure 4 on the turnbuckle, using the cables around the ring to choke each other. This kind of violence hadn't been seen much in the WWF, so why not use it in a match with so much riding on it? Then, similar to what happened in real life, Bret has the sharpshooter on Owen. Neidhart clotheslines Bret to break the hold. Bulldog chases Neidhart around the ring, but trips and knocks himself out on the ring steps. Owen applies the sharpshooter on Bret for a long time. Not 9.5 minutes, like Backlund had Bret in the chicken wing, but long enough. After say 2 minutes, Bret is in a lot of pain, but shaking his head, driving Owen crazy and making Neidhart look concerned. And with Bulldog out cold, there's no way to end the match. Neidhart yells at Owen to ease up, but Owen is in a daze, fixated on making his brother submit to him. Again, similar to real life, Neidhart pleads with Stu and Helen to throw in the towel for Bret. Stu resists, but after Neidhart begs Helen to think about her children, Helen throws in the towel. Owen Hart has won the WWF Championship. Once the bell rings, Owen snaps back in and looks in shock himself. Neidhart joins him in the ring, and after a moment, they smile and laugh together. Their plan of convincing Helen to throw in the towel for Bret worked, and in Owen's mind, he has clearly proved he is the superior brother. So, Owen is champion with all the momentum and a henchman at his side. The big question now is, what to do about Diesel? In real life, days after Survivor Series, Diesel won the WWF title from Backlund in the Garden in 8 seconds and held the title for almost a year, as was the standard for babyface champions in WWF. All the way back to the 1960s with Bruno Sammartino, then Backlund himself, Hogan, Savage, Warrior, and now Bret. The WWF's mantra was to give the people a strong face champion and have every heel in the company have a run at them. In other territories, like Jim Crockett Promotions / WCW, it was the reverse, often with the heel Ric Flair being the hunted, keeping the top babyface at bay, laying down for a big emotional moment, then winning the title back by nefarious means. There's no right way or wrong way, but all promotions will have their preference. And until very recently, when Yokozuna won the title for the second time at King of the Ring 1993 from Hulk Hogan and held it to WrestleMania 10, the WWF had never had a long-term heel on top. And the original plan for Yoko was to drop the belt to Luger at that year's SummerSlam. But as the Lex Express wasn't as effective as they hoped, they called an audible. Had Luger win by countout and regrouped, meaning Yokozuna would hold the title for 9 months. And going beyond the face-heel dynamic, until Bret won the title for the first time in 1992, Vince McMahon had always preferred the larger athlete. The strong, muscular, larger-than-life characters were more striking and believable to hold the top prize in the company. But this was 1994, and things were changing. Even though Vince was acquitted in the steroid trial that summer, he knew he couldn't rely on the jacked-up living superheroes anymore, which is why he initially went with Bret in the first place. But over the course of 1994, Diesel's stock had grown dramatically. Initially Shawn Michaels' bodyguard, he went on a tear at the Royal Rumble, won the Intercontinental title shortly after Mania, wrestled Bret at the King of the Ring, and was being positioned as the potential next big star, being over 7 foot tall without looking like a ridiculous blow-up doll. So the point is, how much of Diesel's title reign are we shaving off here? Do we have Diesel beat Owen at the Garden and give him something else to whine about as he tries to win the title back? Do we make Diesel the hunter and find several inventive ways of keeping him strong while keeping the belt on Owen? Personally, I believe it's time for a change of pace, and the bonus of Owen is, like Flair, he can wrestle and be a devious heel, antagonising the babyfaces and the fans. So, no title change at Madison Square Garden. It's a big shocking moment, the last time the top title is changed at a house show, but we want all eyes on the pay-per-views, especially as we'll be having more of them in 1995 with the introduction of the In Your House series. But the conundrum comes with what to do with the 1995 Royal Rumble. Bret obviously deserves a title shot, but Diesel's push makes him hard to ignore, and in a nod to those who are fully aware that WWF is where the big boys play, Diesel gets the shot to face Owen at the Rumble, while Owen can say, "Sorry bro, you lost, head to the back of the line." So at the Rumble, Owen, with Neidhart in his corner, is trying his best to out-wrestle Diesel, staying at arm's length, working the joints, while Diesel uses his power to subdue him whenever he can. The original match with Bret and Diesel went 27 minutes, and I would have the same happen here. Have it go back and forth, and keep people guessing which way it's going to go. Are WWF going to take this new direction with a heel on top? Or are they going to revert to type and side with the big guy? Then at the end of the match, as Diesel goes to hit Owen with a jackknife, Owen accidentally catches the referee with his foot. He goes down, and Owen counters and hits Diesel with an enziguri. Both men are down, and out comes Bret. He knocks out Neidhart, stands on the apron. Owen turns around to see him and is petrified. Bret stares at Owen. Owen pleads not to attack him, but Bret does nothing. He merely acts as the distraction. As Diesel turns Owen around, kick to the gut, jackknife powerbomb. Bret drops back to the floor, referee wakes up, 1, 2, 3, Diesel is the new champion. Now, I know what I just said about going with the long-term heel champion, but another person we have to think about is Shawn Michaels. His stock is also growing month to month. At the moment he is a heel, and he will slowly turn face during 1995. But right now, if Owen went to Mania as champion, what would happen to Shawn's 1995 Rumble win? Would it go to someone else? And what would he do at Mania and beyond? And, like I just said, we are soon going to have monthly pay-per-views, and we want to get as many eyes on them as we can. So yeah, Diesel wins the title, sort of because of Bret, but he can claim he never physically interfered with Owen's match. So Owen is very, very annoyed, and later in the Rumble match, when we are down to the final three of Michaels, number 1, Bulldog, number 2, and Bret, number 25, we have a similar scenario where Owen comes down, stands on the apron, Bret stands before him, Owen takes a swing at Bret, then jumps off the apron as Bret retaliates, and Michaels dumps Bret over the top rope to eliminate him. Owen scurries away, and Bret follows. So, Michaels keeps his historic Rumble win, and will face Diesel for the title in one of the better matches at WrestleMania 11 in real life. And again, put the WWF title on last. Lawrence Taylor vs Bam Bam Bigelow was a serviceable match, and fed into the celebrity nature of the event, but it should not have been the main event. And in the title match, Diesel gets the big first title win on the big stage that he didn't get in real life, cementing him as the next big babyface champion. Then, on the undercard, Bret and Owen have been attacking each other every week since the Rumble, and they are scheduled to face each other at WrestleMania 11 in an I Quit submission match. Roddy Piper is the referee, and no one else, especially Neidhart, is allowed at ringside. It's not about titles anymore. Now it's about who is the toughest, who is the better brother. And while some might argue that having these two face off for the 4th time on pay-per-view in a calendar year is overkill, hopefully each contest is different enough to still be enjoyable, and the violence and intensity factor is increasing with every contest. Owen continues to gloat about his brother never beating him properly and saying that Mum and Dad aren't here to help you this time. Bret tells Owen that this time round it's a one-on-one contest and he's going to kick his ass just like they did when they were kids. Really making it personal now on both sides, not just Owen bringing it up, but Bret as well. The match starts off with chain wrestling, smooth moves and submission attempts, but eventually, after Bret bests Owen several times, Owen snaps and punches Bret straight in the jaw and goes berserk on him. Bret retaliates, and Piper stands there loving the knockdown brawl in front of him. They battle around the outside of the ring, into the crowd, which I don't believe had been done much up to that point. And at the end of the match, Owen puts Bret in a sleeper hold, brings Bret down to the ground and cinches it in tight. But again, like at Survivor Series, Bret will not give up. Owen shouts and screams at his brother. Piper keeps asking Bret if he quits, but Bret refuses and eventually passes out. Piper sees this and tries to pull Owen off, but Owen will not let go as he goes into a trance. He has become so desperate, losing his title after working so hard to get it, blaming his brother for his shortcomings and being in his shadow. He wants to prove he is the better brother, at the risk of seriously injuring him. Piper calls for the bell, deeming it a no contest, and upon hearing that he did not win, Owen persists. Neidhart then comes out to try and stop him, but Owen has wrapped his legs around Bret's stomach, and whenever they release his arms, he manages to get them back on. Several officials come down. Eventually, Bret starts to bleed from the mouth, if possible, depending on how kid-friendly we want to be. But honestly, 1995 was such a slow year with the campy characters, a bit of realism is what we need, I think. Owen is finally wrenched off Bret, and Neidhart drags him backstage. Bret is carried out on the stretcher, and will be out for several months. So, with Michaels vanquished for now, and Bret on the shelf, Owen lays claim to being the number 1 contender for the WWF title, and will get his rematch at the first In Your House pay-per-view in May. Also, like in real life, after Michaels blames Sid for his loss to Diesel at Mania, Sid attacks Michaels, Diesel comes to his aid, the two are friends again, and Michaels starts to turn face. And finally, at this time in real life, Owen joined Yokozuna and Jim Cornette for the formation of Camp Cornette, but we'll put a pin in that just for now. So, at the first In Your House pay-per-view, on the undercard, Michaels defeats Sid to end their feud, and then it's the champion Diesel versus the challenger Owen with Neidhart in his corner. And following the match at Mania, Owen is a lot more vicious in his attacks now, targeting Diesel's legs, sticking and moving, and following a distraction from Neidhart, Owen goes for a chair to inflict further damage. But out to help Diesel is the British Bulldog. Until now he had avoided Owen since the Survivor Series, but he doesn't want to see Owen cheat his way to the title again. However, after some back and forth with the chair, Diesel inadvertently delivers a big boot to Bulldog. Then, as the referee is trying to get Bulldog out of the ring, Neidhart slides another chair in, Owen slams it into the back of Diesel's knee, goes for the pin, 1, 2, 3, Owen Hart regains the title. After the match, Owen and Neidhart continue to attack Diesel, but Bulldog recovers to drive them away. So, just when you think you've got it all figured out, with Diesel being the new big babyface champion, swerve, Owen regains the title and makes the first In Your House main event a lot more exciting and entertaining than what we really got, a DQ finish between Diesel and Sid. Then, coming up on King of the Ring, Owen now gloats that he has as many title reigns as his brother, and has achieved this quicker, having just turned 30 years old. He celebrates that this time he will hold on to the title for a lot longer time than his first reign, as it is revealed that the King of the Ring, since both Diesel and Bulldog want a piece of Owen, there will be a tag team match with Diesel and Bulldog as partners against Owen and Neidhart. Everyone seems happy with the arrangement, except for Neidhart, who is slightly concerned with how the match will play out. So at the pay-per-view, Shawn Michaels continues his quick ascent back to the main event scene by winning the King of the Ring tournament, last defeating Jeff Jarrett to win the crown. I won't go through the whole bracket because the rest of the roster is pretty dire at this time, but hey, at least we won't have to see King Mabel. And as a result of the win, it is later announced that Shawn will face the WWF champion, whoever it may be, at that year's SummerSlam. Then in the main event, Owen and Neidhart against Diesel and Bulldog. Neidhart's fears are confirmed. The power game is well in the favour of the babyfaces. Owen is ducking both men, and Jim is left to take the majority of the damage. Owen does get in there occasionally when he can get his shots in, and they do isolate Bulldog for a time, but once Diesel gets the hot tag, Owen is out of there. At the end of the match, while Neidhart is fending them both off, Owen grabs his title and slowly backs up the ramp. Diesel hits Neidhart with a jackknife for the pin, the babyfaces win, and Owen parades the title around like he just won it again. Owen then revels in the fact that due to the date of the next pay-per-view, In Your House 2, he will pass the number of days of his first reign, and tries to celebrate with Neidhart. But Jim is not happy, berating Owen for not helping him at King of the Ring. He says he resented Bret for leaving their tag team to become a single star, but there was always respect between them. And with Owen, this is not the case. It is literally all about Owen. So Neidhart leaves Owen alone in the ring, and later in the night it is announced that as Diesel got the pin in the tag team match, he will challenge for the title at In Your House 2. And keeping to the current timeline, it will be a lumberjack match to keep the interference to a minimum. Although, now Neidhart is gone, Owen doesn't even have his backup. So Owen is now scrambling week after week to find people to be on his side in the lumberjack match. Then eventually, he gets a visit in the dressing room from James E. Cornette, and he reminds him that, as the champion, there's one very important thing he has over everyone else: the money he gets for being champion. He tells Owen, "Give me the funds I need, and I will guarantee you will walk out of that show the champion." And now that Owen is desperate, he agrees. Then at the pay-per-view, Cornette assures Owen that he has secured the backing of several wrestlers to be on his side, as well as a special weapon in case they need it. So when the match arrives, true to his word, several heel wrestlers, including the $1 Million Corporation, are part of the Lumberjacks, as well as several babyfaces, including Shawn Michaels and Bulldog, who, while being annoyed initially that he is not getting the title shot, stands on Diesel's side against his brother-in-law. Early on, Owen is thrown out several times towards the heel wrestlers, who leave him alone. When Diesel is thrown out to the same wrestlers, they all get their shots in, leading to the faces retaliating while Owen stands in the ring alone. As the match carries on, Owen tries to stay away, but with the ring surrounded, he is not as successful as he was at the first In Your House, and so Diesel has the upper hand for a lot of it. At the end of the match, the faces and the heels go at it on the outside again. Bulldog stands on the apron, and Michaels climbs to the turnbuckle, looking to jump on the pile. Then, out of nowhere, while Owen and Diesel are concerned with each other, Cornette gives a signal, and the Bulldog shoves Michaels off the top rope away from the pile and onto the floor. Hearing Michaels' screams of pain, the referee and Diesel look down at him with concern, and Cornette grabs hold of the referee. And with that distraction, Bulldog enters the ring and low blows Diesel, as he and Owen look on in shock. Bulldog drops Diesel with the running power slam, leaves the ring. The brawl continues on the outside. Owen, still confused, jumps on Diesel, 1, 2, 3, and retains the title. So, Bulldog joins Camp Cornette, after being overlooked for a title shot, and choosing the money and being by his brother-in-law's side, rather than fight against him, effectively filling the void left by Neidhart as Owen's heavy. So now, we are headed towards SummerSlam, and we know that the main event is going to be Owen Hart versus King of the Ring winner Shawn Michaels, which Cornette once again guarantees Owen will win. And I know what some of you are thinking: with Michaels fighting for the WWF title, there will be no ladder match between Michaels and Ramon, the rematch from WrestleMania 10 for the Intercontinental title, which many believe to be better than the Mania match. And I know it is a shame, but we have the Mania match to look back on and enjoy. And for me, having Michaels battle for the title at WrestleMania 11 and then wait a whole year for another shot seems like a waste. However, this doesn't mean we can't still have a ladder match at SummerSlam. So the match is set: Owen versus Michaels in a ladder match for the WWF title. And as we replace Michaels' Intercontinental title victory with the King of the Ring win, Ramon stays the Intercontinental Champion, battles Jeff Jarrett, and then, not in a ladder match, but at SummerSlam, Ramon battles the young up-and-comer Hunter Hearst Helmsley in a star-making performance. Razor retains, but they go 15 to 20 minutes, and both show off what they can do, like in so many SummerSlam IC title matches in the past. Also at SummerSlam, Diesel faces Bulldog to get revenge for costing him the title in the Lumberjack match. And as per the stipulation, as Bulldog lost, both men are banned from ringside for the main event, as Diesel is confident Shawn can do the job by himself. Owen is not happy by this, but Cornette remains confident of victory, given Diesel has banned himself from ringside also. Then, in the main event, Owen, with Cornette in his corner, versus Michaels, two of the best performers in the company, one-on-one, and they put on a classic. Owen tones down the heel work, relying on his athleticism and wrestling ability, while Michaels goes fast-paced and flies around the ring like a madman. Then, at the end of the match, Michaels has the upper hand. Cornette tries to distract him, but Michaels chases Cornette backstage. The battle continues, and both men are spent at this point. Michaels goes for switching music, but Owen counters with an enziguri. Then, as both men lie there, the lights go dark. After a few seconds, a red spotlight points down to the middle of the ring, and then, walking down the ramp, we see Cornette and the returning Yokozuna, the final piece of Camp Cornette. Michaels tries to get up and climb the ladder before they can get there, but Owen grabs his leg and gives Yoko time because, yeah, he is a big guy these days. But once he gets there, they attack Michaels, and as the stipulation only mentions Diesel and Bulldog, the referee can't do anything about it. Yokozuna drops 3 banzai drops on Michaels, and then Owen climbs the ladder unchallenged and retrieves the belt. Diesel then appears to help, but Bulldog is right behind him. A brawl ensues. Bulldog and Yokozuna subdue Diesel, and Owen remains champion, now with 2 big men in his corner. Yes, not a happy end to the show, but much more interesting than Diesel versus King Mabel. And yes, I know, Michaels laying down may seem far-fetched to many, but he isn't pinned, and it takes a triple team, including a super heavyweight, to keep him down. And by now, hopefully the plans for next year are forming into place, so Shawn will do the right thing for business and put Owen over. So, Owen, Yoko, Cornette, and now Bulldog stand in the ring celebrating, like SummerSlam 93 without the balloons. And then, in the aisleway, who should appear but Bret Hart. And reminiscent of WrestleMania 10, Bret simply stands in the aisleway and looks at his brother, and Owen looks like he's seen a ghost. However, after this, we don't see Bret for another month. We know he is well again, but by not showing him again for a while, Owen remains slightly on edge for the foreseeable future. So now, management are getting really sick of Owen keeping his title through dubious means. Camp Cornette protests that they haven't broken any rules deliberately, but WWF are determined to have a fair contest in the pay-per-view main event. And so, the match is made. Owen and a partner of his choice versus Diesel and Michaels. The winner of the fall will win the WWF Championship. And while the original In Your House 3 was called Triple Header, for this I am renaming it All for One Fall, as even Owen's partner could win the title in the match. And while Camp Cornette has to worry about their 2 opponents, they also have to decide who is going to partner Owen in the match, which leads to disagreements and infighting as Yokozuna is a former champion, but Bulldog feels he has been screwed over several times in the past, going all the way back to the Royal Rumble, when only one of Shawn Michaels' feet hit the floor. And after some discussion, it is agreed that Bulldog will partner Owen, much to Yokozuna's disappointment. But then, on the night of the event, stealing the idea from real life, Cornette, Yokozuna and Bulldog arrive at the arena and inform management that Owen is with his wife, as they are expecting the birth of their child. Management protest, but Cornette chastised them for being cold-hearted, as Owen has chosen his family over his job, and how noble an act that is. So the match is changed, and Yokozuna and Bulldog will face Diesel and Michaels in the main event. But it's never stated in the conversation whether the title is on the line or not. In the main event, as both teams are ready to begin, new WWF President Gorilla Monsoon comes down to the ring, speaks to the ring announcer, who then announces that, as Owen is not there to defend his title, his teammates will do so in his absence. So while Yokozuna and Bulldog cannot win the title by getting the fall, Diesel or Michaels can win the title. And understandably, Yokozuna, and particularly Bulldog, are very annoyed by this, and Cornette is livid by Monsoon's decision. So in the match, Yoko and Bulldog, who are now fighting to keep the title in Camp Cornette, work over Michaels for most of the match, as he still has some sore spots from SummerSlam. Eventually though, he gets the tag to Diesel, who is a house of fire, and the babyfaces seem to have the match won. However, after they both hit their finishes on the Bulldog, there is some bickering as to who is going to make the pinfall, as both men want to be the champion. In the confusion, Yokozuna hits them both from behind, and to everyone's surprise, out comes Owen. The plan to pretend he was by his wife's side didn't go to plan, and so here he is to fight for his title. He grabs Bulldog by the arm and pulls him out of the ring, and Bulldog looks genuinely shocked to see him, as he thought the story of being with his wife was true, but it was a ruse cooked up by Cornette to try and make it a normal tag match without the title on the line. Bulldog takes issue with being lied to by his family member, decks Owen, rolls him into the ring and walks off. By now, Diesel and Michaels have subdued Yoko, and now both men look down at Owen and he is trapped. They grab him, bam, 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 switching music, jackknife, and after some discussion, they place a foot each on Owen's chest for the pinfall. The referee raises both men's hands, but there is no announcement, as both men made the fall. So, who will be named the champion? Some of the crowd cheer for Diesel, hopefully, and some cheer for Michaels, hopefully, as their hands are raised individually. But wait! Cornette grabs a microphone and a rulebook from his pocket, and tells Monsoon that since Owen was not an official participant in the match, while they do win the match, the title change is declared void. Camp Cornette get away with it again, and Diesel, Michaels, Monsoon, and the crowd are understandably pissed. So Camp Cornette is falling apart, it would seem. It turns out Owen and Cornette did lie to Bulldog and Yokozuna about Owen's whereabouts. Both men walk out on them during a promo in the ring, and then, backstage, Bulldog bumps into his other brother-in-law, Bret. They talk it out, with Bulldog explaining that he lost his way, and was so obsessed with being champion that he lost sight of what was right. Bret tells Bulldog he is so much more than the muscle, reminding him of their main event match at SummerSlam 1992, and Bret convinces Bulldog to demand a title match at In Your House 4, Great White North, which Monsoon gladly accepts. Owen and Cornette are understandably furious with this, but Bulldog states that he needs to do this, to prove he can hang with the best, seemingly leaving Camp Cornette and turning babyface. And also in the build-up to the pay-per-view, as Michaels is put out of action due to the incident in Syracuse, a number one contendership match is made for Diesel versus Bret Hart. The winner will face the champion at Survivor Series. At In Your House 4, after a grueling battle, Bret defeats Diesel with a roll-up, and Diesel, after months of being screwed around since losing the title, has had enough, and attacks Bret after the bell to turn semi-heel, much like he did in real life. Then, in the main event, Owen versus Bulldog, with Cornette seemingly in both corners. Again, much like at SummerSlam against Michaels, Owen is allowed to use a lot more of the offense he is so well known for, rather than relying on heel tactics. Even though this is heel versus heel, technically, due to Bulldog's size advantage, but also his gripe for being used by his brother-in-law and manager, both gain some measure of respect from the Canadian fans. In the end though, Owen's quickness allows him to lock in the sharpshooter, and after trying to escape, Bulldog submits and Owen retains. Owen and Cornette leave as Bulldog remains on the mat. Bret comes out to aid his fallen brother-in-law, raising his hand much like at SummerSlam 92. And then, wham! Bulldog clotheslines Bret out of nowhere. Turns out he is still in Camp Cornette after all. Owen and Cornette return and beat up Bret until officials come out to stop them. At this point, Monsoon has had enough of the interference and dirty tricks, and makes the match for Survivor Series. Owen versus Bret. No disqualification match. No one allowed at ringside for either person. If there is any interference in the match will end, and for Owen, the title will change hands. And in the build-up, both men run down what has led them to this point. The initial dissension and betrayal by Owen, their first match at WrestleMania 10, the cage match, last year's Survivor Series where Owen manipulated his parents to win the title, Bret making Owen lose the title he worked so hard for, Owen costing Bret the Rumble win, Owen hospitalizing Bret at WrestleMania 11, and now, 8 months later, the final battle. One-on-one, anything goes, there must be a winner, by pinfall or submission. And while every match has had increased levels of violence up to this point, this match is an all-out war. Both men rip off the top turnbuckle pads, and after about a minute of wrestling, the punches start flying. They battle outside, choking each other with cables, chairs to the legs and back, warming each other up for the sharpshooter. Owen uses the steel steps on Bret's back. Bret puts the figure four on Owen around the ring post. They tease using the exposed turnbuckle on each other, and eventually, Bret slams Owen's head into it. Near the end of the match, Bret is on the apron. Owen gets up a full head of steam and knocks Bret off, and he goes through the Spanish announce table. Everyone is in shock, including Owen, as Bret appears nearly motionless. Owen slowly begins to smile maniacally, shouting to the crowd that he is the better brother. He is the better wrestler, he's tougher, he will be the better champion, and he will do it all by himself. He drags Bret back into the middle of the ring, berating his brother the whole time, slapping his face and toying with him. And then he starts to put the sharpshooter on him. He looks down at him one last time, but then, out of nowhere, Bret boots Owen in the face from the floor, and in a flash, Bret swipes Owen's feet, stands, crosses his legs, and puts Owen in the sharpshooter. Owen is now screaming in agony. Bret and the referee keep asking if he wants to give up, but he keeps saying no. He has never been pinned or made to submit by Bret before in all their encounters. But now, he is all alone. He is trapped, and Bret continues to wrench the sharpshooter, determined to end this now. Owen tries to get to the ropes, but just when he is inches away, Bret walks him back to the middle of the ring. Bret is too powerful, and after a long wait, Owen concedes and taps out. Bret Hart has regained the WWF Championship. After some time, Owen gets to his feet, selling his back out of this brutal war, having finally fell to his brother in the middle of the ring. Bret offers a handshake, and after thinking about it, he shakes his brother's hand. They don't hug, there is still some bad blood there, but Owen can appreciate that Bret got the better of him. And after all the heelish things he has done, the crowd can see, deep down, Owen can really go, and will be seen as a major player in the main event scene for some time. And then, the timeline goes back to normal. Bret puts on some great title matches against Bulldog, Undertaker and Diesel before dropping the belt to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12. Owen goes on to knock out Shawn Michaels the night after Survivor Series and play on the Syracuse incident. But Owen can feed off the title loss and be an even more vicious heel in the aftermath. And when Shawn does win the title, Owen can feud with Shawn over the belt during 1996 and beyond, as his stock has been elevated by being the biggest heel of the last year. Obviously, it's hard to tell as it's a big departure from what WWF did in real life, but hopefully, having a heel champion has made for compelling viewing, at least better than the real 1995, and shows you can succeed without a big guy on top. Yes, your big babyfaces like Diesel and Michaels have eaten some losses, but they have come under nefarious circumstances, which is how you keep the chase going with a heel on top. Diesel remains prominent for the whole year despite his short title reign, and then his frustration in not being able to get the job done leads him to turn heel, and he can then challenge for the title against Bret and Shawn. And for Michaels, yes, he loses an IC title win and the ladder match rematch against Razor, but you give him the King of the Ring win that he never had in real life, one of the few things he never achieved. You make it clear he will get his time in the sun soon enough, and his loss at SummerSlam, 1, is certainly an upgrade on Diesel vs King Mabel, and 2, adds to the boyhood dream narrative, as he has more of a struggle of him earning his spot, rather than just being given opportunities. Neidhart is featured more and can battle Owen on TV, Bulldog is featured more, rather than teaming with Lex Luger, and into 1996, he is seen as a bigger player. Yokozuna doesn't wrestle as much, which given his weight issues, allows him to be more imposing without putting too much pressure on his body. And yes, he doesn't get a tag title reign, but he remains prominent as part of the main event angle. And when he turns face in early 1996, he has a legitimate grudge over Cornette for being used and betrayed to protect the champion. And finally, as I said earlier, Razor loses the ladder match with Michaels, but as Michaels is pushed into the WWF title scene earlier, he has a longer run with the Intercontinental belt, battling with Jeff Jarrett and making Hunter-Hearst Helmsley early on in a big performance at SummerSlam. In my view, everyone is around the same level or slightly elevated. Nobody loses, except maybe Diesel and Mabel. However, given the real WWF landscape in 1995, I think this is a big improvement. And that's how I would have booked Owen Hart to win the WWF Championship. What do you think of my new reality? Do you prefer it to the original story? And how would you tweak my booking or do things differently? Let me know in the comments section, and stay tuned to the channel for more WWF rebooking stories. Remember to like and share this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications as a new video will be released every Monday, and follow me on Twitter at the handle on screen. This has been The Wrestling World According to Brad. Thanks for listening.